it's Jess. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video should be short and sweet. It is going to be my May wrap-up. Overall, I would say that May was a pretty good reading month for me. I have 6 books to talk to you about today, and I wanted to start, like always, with my book club pick, which was Jade City by Fonda Lee. And this is great. I don't think at this point that I need to try to sell you on the Greenbone Saga. This is book 1 in the Greenbone Saga. It is extremely popular. And I think overall, book 1 was like a really great entry into a new series. This is a trilogy that follows a specific family, the Call family, and they are all Greenbone warriors. This is set in a fictional land which is based off of Japan, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but in this nation they are able to mine jade, which gives them powers by wearing it. And it is a very volatile substance, and in order to use it properly, it requires many years of training, and even then, sometimes that is not enough to protect the user. The Call family is the leader of the No Peak clan, which is one of the most powerful clans in Kaikon. And at the start of this, there is some growing tension and violence between the No Peak clan and the Mountain clan. It definitely does have a little bit of like mafia vibes, I would say, for sure. I mean, the clans when they were originally set up were very different, but as society has progressed and changed, the rules of clans in society has also changed, and basically there is a really big power struggle that starts in this book. The ending was pretty explosive. There's quite a bit of violence in this book, quite a bit of action in this book, and basically you're just along for the ride with the Call family, specifically Lan, Shay, Hilo, and Andon. I really love this family. I got so attached so quickly to some of these characters. I love Hilo so much. Hilo's definitely giving, he's a 10, but he's contemplating casual murder. So that kind of tells you what you're getting into with this book. I think the magic system is great in here. There are various different ways to use the jade, and I think that Fonda Lee has set like a really good match between what you can get from the magic and what that cost will be, and also how the magic exists in this very modern world. Oftentimes fantasies are set in historical worlds because obviously, it can be hard to temper magic to exist within our present day time. I think Fonda Lee did a fantastic job fitting magic into our everyday world without making it seem like it is just like a cure-all, a fix for everything. It is not too powerful. It fits in seamlessly, and I think that there's quite a bit of world building in order to make the magic fit better, which is always very satisfying to me. I don't need world building in order to really love a book, but I love all the extra touches that world building brings to a novel in order to make it feel more real. I think Fonda Lee also did such a good job of getting you attached to characters in a very short amount of time. That is something that is usually pretty rare for me as a reader. It does normally take quite a bit of time for me to get personally invested in a character, but like I was like 50 pages in and I was like, I will die for you. Overall, I definitely think that this held up to my hype and expectations for the book, and I just can't wait to see where the rest of the series is going. The next 3 books that I have to talk to you about, you might have already seen. I put up a vlog this month reading books like Kayla from Books and Lala, and it was honestly a really great time. The first book that I read in that vlog was Dress Codes for Small Towns by Courtney Stevens. Overall, I gave this a 3.5. It is a young adult contemporary coming of age story. I do find that personally, I don't get very much out of young adult contemporary as a genre anymore. And so I didn't really think this was going to be a favorite going into it, but I did enjoy this. It was a good, well-written story, and I do think that I would have really loved this story if I was in middle or high school when I read it. This is a story about Billy, who is growing up as the preacher's daughter in a very small town, and she is slowly coming to the realization that she has fallen in love with both of her best friends. One is a boy and one is a girl, and all 3 of them are part of a very close friend group. And naturally, there are quite a few things to worry about when you fall in love with your best friends. I don't know if this book would blow anybody out of the water, but I do think that Courtney Stevens has a fantastic writing style, and I would be interested in reading an adult contemporary by her. I think it could really resonate with me, because Courtney Stevens' ability to write complex human emotions in a way that is so relatable and drives the reader to feel so much empathy is really what carried this book. It wasn't like purple prose, it wasn't lyrical, but it was beautiful, and it was so extremely readable. It was so relatable, and that was definitely my favorite part about this book. If young adult contemporary is a genre that you enjoy, then I do really think that you would like this book. I still really did enjoy myself in this, even if it didn't become a new all-time favorite, but I see how this book could become an all-time favorite for other people. Next up in that vlog, I read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This is an adult thriller, and I'm so sad. This was a miss for me. I gave it 2 stars. To be perfectly honest, I was really bored. I don't really have anything good to say about this. This book follows a group of friends who are returning to college for their 10-year reunion. There are currently 6 in the friend group, but 10 years ago there used to be 7. One of them was brutally murdered, and the murder was never solved. So now at the reunion, someone is trying to solve the murder. This book had a really great premise, and I thought that I was genuinely going to love it, but it was just a huge miss for me. Like I said, I was basically bored the entire time reading this. I was able to predict most things within the book. That doesn't necessarily mean that I rate a book low. There have been thrillers where I guess everything that's going to happen that I still really love, but in this case, because I wasn't bored and I also was able to guess everything that was going to happen, it just really compounded me not enjoying the book overall. Now, I do want to make it clear that I'm in the minority of my opinion here. I honestly have not seen another person dislike this book other than me. Now, I'm sure that people dislike this book. Every single book on Goodreads and Amazon has 1 and 2 star reviews, so I'm not trying to say I'm special or anything like that. I just wanted to make it clear that I'm in the minority of the opinion of this. So if this is a book that you have your eye on, I definitely don't discourage you from reading it, because this was one of Kayla's favorite books of the year. It is multiple people's favorite book of the year that they read it. I'm just here to tell you that I didn't personally like this book, but hey, you might. The third book that I read for the Reading Like Kayla vlog was Middle Game by Shannon McGuire, and This was a massive win. So far, this is one of my favorite books of the year. I really, really loved this. I gave this 5 stars, and this is a book that follows Roger and Dodger. They are alchemical experiments, basically. They were made in a lab. This is such a special book, and I genuinely think you should know nothing going into it. All I'm gonna say on the back is godhood is attainable, pray it isn't attained. That's like the last quote of the synopsis on the back. I don't know how long it took Shauna Maguire to plan this book out, but it is excellent. It is masterfully written. Books like this make me feel like I could never possibly write anything, and to even attempt to is a waste of my time because it just felt so perfect and so exactly what it needed to be. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to love it as much as I did, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this book is perfect and it is exactly what it needed to be. This is another book that had me willing to die for the main characters. I love both Roger and Dodger. They are so similar and also so unique. They feel so real. I just really love the magic in here with alchemy. I mean, honestly, alchemy is already kind of a buzzword for me in books, but I love how Shauna Maguire wrote the magic into the world. I can't be more specific than that. I really can't. All I'm gonna say is the staircase. It is great. It's so great. It is so fantastic. This book is so excellent. This is gonna sound weird because there is, in the second half of this book, there is a lot of action. The first half is a little more slow, but in the second half of this book, there is a lot of action. But despite that, at the end of the day, this is kind of a quiet book. It is one that you put down, but you just keep thinking of, and it just kind of slowly settles into you, into like your mind. I just can't stop thinking about this book since I read it. Can you tell that I love this book? I highly, highly recommend. The next book that I read in May should come as zero surprise to anyone who's been here for the last couple of months, but I read Blood Union Part 2 by Bella Roth. This is book 6 in the Blood Gray series, and I'm gonna try to be quick with this because I've been raving about this series for months now. It is my current obsession. This is a series that follows Leo and Cassia. Leo is a Hesperine, which is this world's version of a vampire, and Cassia is the bastard daughter of the king, and her father kind of sucks hard. He is not good. Leo is an apprentice diplomat, and so he is a part of an envoy that comes to Cassia's country in order to have peace talks and open negotiations between the two countries. There is quite a bit of fear in the human nation about the Hesperines because they do drink blood, but Cassia is able to arrange a meeting between herself and Leo because she has some questions that she wants answered about some events from her past, and the two of them build a really cute friendship, which leads to one of my favorite romantic relationships that I've ever encountered in a book. I love it so much. It's so sweet and wholesome and cute, and it gives me butterflies and it makes me smile. In this series, books 1 through 4 are like one story arc, and then from book 5 into at least book 7, which will be coming out in a couple weeks. I cannot wait. I can't wait. But that is a whole completely different story arc. Even though they are separate arcs, I really cannot tell you any details about this. I loved this book. Gave it 5 stars. It's fantastic. But I did also just want to mention that in this book, Cassia and Leo go to a new place. In this location, it is predominantly people of color, and I just wanted to mention that this book does fall prey to like the people of color shapeshifter trope, which like it's not inherently problematic to have a person of color be a shapeshifter, but that definitely has been a trope within the fantasy genre that can be very problematic, along with like the black spiritual woman. And so I did just want to mention that like that is in here. When I was reading the book, I didn't come across anything that I saw that was problematic, but I'm also very, very white, as you can see. Like, I'm not a person of color, so I'm definitely not like the word of authority on this. This volume also had a disabled side character in it. She is a new character that you meet for the first time in this novel. I really, really liked her, and I thought it was quite interesting because a lot of the times in fantasy, you have like the disabled character who is like magically healed, and that is not the case in this series. As a fully able-bodied person, I thought that the disabled character rep was great. She had a very, very adorable mobility aid to help her in certain situations. And I do think that that was really, really well done, especially considering that there have been injuries in the past in this series that were magically healed. I definitely do need to look up what disabled readers say about this character. I'm sorry I can't be more specific about this book, but like I said, it is book 6 in this series, but I'm obsessed with this series. I have rated all of the books 4 stars or above in this series, and if you want a fantastical romance with really, really great plotting and a really fun world that is quite fantastically constructed, the world building here is, I think, fantastic, then I highly, highly recommend this series. So the last book that I want to talk about in this wrap-up is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. You might have noticed that I'm on a bit of a fantasy romance tear at the moment. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but like honestly, I'm just having the best time. I ordered this book because it is the June Patreon buddy read book for Chloe Bunny's Patreon, but I already read it. It's just that I'm up to date on the Blood Grace series, and this is another fantasy romance vampire story, and like I have to wait still like another week and a half to get the next book in that series, and like, you know, screw my TBR, screw my reading goals. I'm getting so much serotonin from reading fantasy romance, and it's so fantastic, and I'm just having the best time. This is a duology. Have I ordered the second book? It's gonna be here tomorrow. This is a series that follows Aurea, and she is the human adopted daughter of the king of the Nightborn vampire court. Aurea wants to become powerful. She was an orphan when the vampire king found her, and she knows that all of her immediate family is dead, but she is still curious to go back to like where she originated from and see if she can find maybe some like more distant family members. In addition to that, she just really would like to be more powerful. You know, in this world, like, vampires are very cruel. There is quite a bit of violence in here. It's like not a good place to be. I mean, it's not good for the vampires to be, but like it's especially not good if you're a human. In this world, you have a less than half chance. I think it's like only 1 in 3 chance of surviving becoming a turned vampire. So the king, who's her father and does deeply love and care for her, refuses to try to change her from human to vampire because he's just not willing to lose her to that, because the chances are pretty shit, honestly. As a way to become more powerful and to survive that process, Aurea enters a competition. If she is able to win the competition, she will quite literally be able to ask the goddess for a favor. Obviously, once she joins the competition, she's gonna meet a cute boy. And it's a really fun time. This book is very fun. There's a lot of blood, there is a lot of violence, and there's, to be perfectly honest, some really gross stuff in here. Like, there's stuff in here that I would not be surprised to find in a horror book. So I know it's weird to hear me say all of that and say that it's also really fun, but that is true. This is definitely on the darker side of the fantasy romance. Now, I want to make it clear, the romantic aspects of this book are not dark. However, the world and the setting and the gruesome nature of everything around Aurea is very dark. I thought this was great. I gave it 4 stars. It was a really fun time. I do think that Carissa Broadbent's writing does need a little bit of work here and there. For the most part, it's great, fantastic. There's just like a couple of times where she would put a sentence down and it was just like really clunky and awkward, and it did draw me out a little bit, but like not enough to dim my enjoyment overall of reading this. I definitely recommend it if this is something that you're in the mood for. Okay, there you go. Those are all of the books that I have to talk to you about from the month of May. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I hope that you are safe this week. I hope you stay hydrated, especially going into summer, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!